Sherry would be on tonight, but she's home with a bad cold.
No. Bronchitis.
Yeah, she.
Ladies and gentlemen, Chag Sameach, Bruchim Habayim. You are very welcome. Really very happy to see you all. We are here to do two things. One, we are going to study about Hanukkah. We are going to celebrate, but we are going to practice because Judaism is a religion of practice. But first of all, I would like to say in the name of all of us, members of Temple Bethel Riverside, that we would like to send our condolence to Rabbi Emerita Susan Singer by her loss. Today it's supposed to be Rabbi Singer's lecture here in person, and I planned to light the Hanukkah together and to celebrate together at the temple, but everything changed so quickly. Then I decided to change and to have another topic. Of course, that I'm not going to invite Rabbi Singer. She don't have any condition to give a lecture in that days. Then we are sending and we dedicate this class to the holy memory of Michelle Singer, Zichronah Livracha, and the holy memory of Rov Reiner, Zichron Livracha. And this is the way that we understand in the Jewish tradition when we are studying. It's a way to elevate the memory of people who died. We are going to celebrate and to study, as I said. Life continues, and we are in the week of Hanukkah week, and we need to remember that this is a holiday that we celebrate during 8 days. First of all, I would like to show you something very, very nice. Before I arrived to California, I served Temple Israel in Cape Town in South Africa. And when I finish my work there, I went to replace a colleague who was in Rabbi Greg, who was in his sabbatical. But when I finish my work, I received a very special gift for them, and I would like to show you. I received a dino, but it's not just a dino. Yes, it's a Hanukkah dino, and I'm going to light this dino. It's a way to say and to embrace also people from Temple Israel in Cape Town.
Rabbi, isn't it a rhino?
Rhino, yes.
You said dino, like a dinosaur.
Yes, it's a rhino. Yes, rhino. Yes, rhino. It's really very, very nice. It's a handcraft, very, very nice. But I'm going to light this rhino. Okay, it's this. I never imagined to have a Hanukkah like this. It's in my office. If you like to see anytime, you are very welcome. And this is another thing that I received as a gift last year. Let me show you.
Very nice.
This is a gift that it's coming for a Reverend Jeff, for the Interfaith Dialogue Group, Magnolia, and he gave me this, and also it's in my office with, I don't know if you can see the CV bond and the Hanukkah Geld. It's really very, very nice.
24 karat gold.
Very, very nice. We are going to talk about the symbols of the holiday, but just I wanted to show you. And here I have too much light, in my back, but we have here a beautiful Hanukkah that we are going to light tomorrow. Okay, but also this helped me to teach you how we light the Hanukkah. First of all, let's start with the practice. Okay, we have 8 nights of commemoration that we start always in the same day by the Jewish calendar on the 25 or the 25th of Kislev, and it's very easy to remember if you know Hebrew. The word to call this holiday is Hanukkah, and the last part of this word in Hebrew, Haf Hei. Remember that each letter in Hebrew have his own value. Haf, it's 20. Hey, it's 5. If we add 20 plus 5, it's 25. This is a very easy way to remember when we celebrate Hanukkah, the 25th of Kislev. And we have a Hanukkah, which is the difference between a Hanukkah and a menorah. Perhaps it's an obvious question, but it's not so obvious perhaps for some of you. We can see that in the Hanukkah, some people call Hanukkah menorah. This is very confusing, I'm thinking, because we have 2 symbols. One is the menorah, where when we are putting 7 candles in the menorah, and we have here the Hanukkah, and always we say that we put 8 candles. But if you start to count, you will see that we have space for 9 candles. Then how we can explain that we have 9 candles if we celebrate 8 days? It's very simple. This candle, in this case, in this Hanukkah, in the middle, we call shamash. It's the candle that will help us to light the others. Okay, we light the shamash. Shamash, it's like the light, the candle that it's taking care for the others. Also, we have this nice word in Yiddish that I'm sure that you heard, shamesh. What is the shamesh? Shamesh, it's the person who is taking care of the synagogue, of the temple. Shamesh. And shamash in this case, yeah, shamesh is in Yiddish, shamash is in Hebrew, but is in some cases here it's the central candle. In my Rhino Hanukkah also it's here in the middle, but there are some Hanukkot that you can find perhaps in one corner. It's not exactly in the center. I'm talking about candles, but the original Hanukkah was not with candles, was with oil. Okay, we need to remember this. And the miracle that we remember, and we are speaking about the Hanukkah miracle, it was not the miracle of the candle, it was the miracle of the oil. And we are going to study about this. This is a celebration that remember us the oil, and then all the food that we eat during these days, it's have some relationship with oil. When we are eating latkes and when we are eating sufganiot, like donuts, or are related with oil, because we remember the miracle of the oil. It's a pedagogic way to remember or to associate this celebration with the history. But in fact, we don't know if that history happened or not, the history of the oil. When we are talking about miracle, the miracle was that Matityahu, Hashmonai, Matityahu, and Yehuda, and Maccabi, they were the family, they were the priest, the people who take care of the big temple of Jerusalem, Beit HaMikdash, holy temple of Jerusalem. We are talking about 200 years before the year zero, before the Common Era. And then the priest was responsible to take care for the temple, and they were responsible to take care for the oil that they need for the lights in the temple. Do you remember that we have a symbol inside our sanctuary just on the top of the sanctuary? When you are looking for the Holy Ark, we have a light that it's always on. How we call that light?
Eternal light.
Eternal light, exactly, Sandy. Eternal light. In Hebrew, we call that light Ner Tamid. Ner, it's candle, Tamid, forever. Eternal light. And it was the God presence. This represents the God presence. And in the holy, and today it's very simple because you turn on the plug and then it's on, and you can replace the light and will be always on. But in the ancient time, in the time of the Beit HaMikdash, it was really a hard work because they need to put oil and they need to keep this light on the 24 hours. And this was part of the function of the priest. And when the Greeks enter and destroy everything inside the Temple of Jerusalem, also they destroyed the places where the priest and where the Maccabim used to put the oil. And which one? How we can describe the miracle? It took 8 days to produce a new, at least, bottle of oil, and it was exactly the time that the candle where the light was burned till the Kohanim, till the priest produced the new oil. This is a holiday that we need to celebrate because it's the monotheism against the polytheism. This is the reason of this war, and we need to understand that the Hellenistic empire that was in the power in that time want to spread his ideology. This is the same that happened nowadays. When you have an empire, which is the goal of the empire, to spread the ideology. And how you can spread the ideology of an empire? You can spread the religion of the empire, you can spread the economy of the empire, you can put your own rules. But for this, you need partners in every place. The partners for the Hellenistic empire were they were called Seleus. In Spanish we say Seleucidas, Seleukim in Hebrew, Seleucidas, and they were the partners from the Hellenistic empire in the region of Syria. When you have an empire, you need partners in every place. And the Seleukim, how we say in Hebrew, were the partners, and they were in the main goal was to enter in the land of Israel and to destroy the unique place of worship of the people of Israel. And this is an important point too to remember. In that time, the unique place that the people of Israel had for worship was the Temple of Jerusalem. The synagogue, it's coming later as an answer of the destruction of the Holy Temple of Jerusalem. It was a way to say, okay, we don't have anymore the Holy Temple of Jerusalem. We don't have anymore the Beit HaMikdash. Okay, let's do something. And during the time that they were in Babylon, they create the synagogue. This is the reason that the synagogues can be very small places. We don't need a huge place for worship. You can have just a room, and this room can be a synagogue, a place to pray, a place to sing, to study Torah, and we call this in Yiddish cheder. Cheder, it's room. A room, it's enough. Okay, in Europe, it was very common to go to the cheder in the shtetl, in small villages. The Jews used to went to the cheder, and later on, okay, the cheder, perhaps many people attended the cheder and they need more space. Okay, you have a synagogue later, but at the beginning it was a cheder, it was a room. We can see many places like this, like I described in Europe and also here in America and all over the world. A small place with prayer books, with the Torah, and this is enough to pray. The Holy Temple of Jerusalem, it was the main place, and we need to remember that it was the place that the pilgrims arrives 3 times a year for Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot. They used to walk till Jerusalem and to offer the first fruit, what we call bikurim, and also they came with animals to sacrifice. It was a time that animals were sacrificed. It was the way that our ancestors used to pray. They didn't have prayer books. They sacrificed animal. It was the communication between human and God. It was a way to believe that when they were putting fire in an animal, this produced smoke and smell, and through the smoke and through the smell, it was the way that they arrived to God. It was a present to God. And we are talking about the bikurim, the first fruit. Instead to eat the first fruit, they were given as a gift to God. And what the enemies try was exactly to change the way to believe. Instead to believe in one God, they put statues of Zeus inside the temple, and Shabbat was forbidden to celebrate. Also Brit Milah, also to celebrate holidays, also many Jewish traditions were forbidden. And the enemy thought, okay, let's change the way that these people believe, and they are going to be part of us. They are going to assimilate our ideology, and then we are going to be in the power, and they will be part of the empire. But the reaction was exactly the opposite. They want to keep the tradition. They want to keep their Jewish names, Hebrew names. They wanted to keep Shabbat, and also to celebrate the different holidays that they used to celebrate. And one detail that it's not minor, that who start the revolution to dedicate the temple, it's not an army. It was not an army. They were the priest and his family, Matityahu and his 5 sons start the revolution against the Hellenistic Empire. And this is the miracle. We fight against an empire and we won. This is the real miracle. Later on, we are talking about the miracle of the light. But the miracle, it was impossible to fight against an empire, but also without any probability, they won, and they rededicate the Temple of Jerusalem. Hanukkah means dedication. Yes, they rededicate the Temple of Jerusalem. They enter, they clean the temple, they restore the order, and the Temple of Jerusalem became again the main place of worship of the people of Israel. We need to remember that the city of Jerusalem was really very important, and all around the Temple of Jerusalem, they developed also the market. It was a big market, and the people came and they changed their values or food by other things. It was not just let's go to pray. It was an important city. It was the main city. Remember that it was the city of the king, and it was also an important place because it was the way between Africa and Asia. Okay, Israel was exactly the way between the continents, and this is another reason why all those empires who arrived to the area, to the zone, they like to conquest Israel, because it was a commercial road between the continents, and it was another thing that disturbed our enemies. We were, and we are till today, monotheist, and all the empires who came, yes, try to change our spirituality, but we still there, and we don't have anymore the Temple of Jerusalem, but we have our ideology, that it's a strong ideology. We continue to believe in one God. We continue to practice our tradition. We continue to practice the Brit Milah, the circumcision. We continue to give to our kids a Hebrew name. We continue to celebrate Shabbat, and this is the way. Or I don't know if I can say in that way, that it's the secret why we are here, because we take this seriously, and we put in risk our lives also when it's forbidden. I don't know if you watch a couple of videos in the last days, how the hostages in Gaza, inside the tunnels, they lighted the Hanukkah. They create like a Hanukkah. I don't know for where they find some little candles, but they celebrate Hanukkah also in the tunnels, also as hostages, always with the hope of freedom, always with the hope of redemption, always with the hope to embrace our tradition. And we need to see that if we started to talk that it's not easy to be a Jew in our days, we saw what was happening in Australia, in Bondi Beach, in Sydney, we can see that the hate against our people continue in the same way that in the time of the Maccabees. But the lesson, it's also a strong lesson. We need to do our lesson and we need to fight for our freedom. Nobody is going to fight for us. Nobody is going to defend the people of Israel. Our identity, when we study and when we keep our mitzvot, our commandments, this is the best way to be strong as a people. And the light of the Hanukkah, it's not just for us. The light of the Hanukkah, it's to spread and to share with our neighbors. This is the reason that we used to put our Hanukkot in front of the window. I don't have any window here in my office, and I will light the Hanukkah. Another important thing that we are talking, that it's a commandment, it's a mitzvah. In the place that you light the Hanukkah, and the same rule you must apply for the Shabbat candles, in the place that you light the candles or the Hanukkah or your menorah, you can move later, okay? If you light in one place, you need to leave till the end in that place. You can move, okay? You can change the place. Okay, let's light here, and later on I will put here, or I will put in another place. Not, this is wrong. In the place that you light the candles, you need to leave there. Okay. Another question: what happens if you are not feeling safe in this Hanukkah to light your menorah in front of the window?
I have mine in the window. It's an electric one.
Okay, perfect. But what happens if you are afraid, because everything that happened, to light the menorah in front of your window? Okay, you are allowed to light your Hanukkah or your Shabbat candles in another place that you are feeling safe. Okay, it's a very nice tradition in the land of Israel to light the Hanukkah in the front door. And the people light the Hanukkah in the front door, and the Hanukkah must be exactly in the opposite side of the mezuzah. You can put the Hanukkah in the same side of the mezuzah. You must move to the opposite side of the mezuzah. And another tradition that we have during this holiday, the first night of the holiday, we add, and this is also a rule. Remember, this is a rule when we light candles in our holidays. When the holiday have more than one day, in the first night, because we light the candle at night and not during the day, in the first night, we need to add the blessing Sheheyanu. Okay? The blessing Sheheyanu, it's a way to recognize and to thank God that we arrive to the holiday and we are alive to celebrate. This is what means Sheheyanu. Okay? How good and how pleasant that we are here and we are alive to celebrate the holiday. This is Sheheyanu. And another important thing, yes, at least if you have a really little candle, it's not enough. At least you need in between 20 and 30 minutes the time that the light must be in your Hanukkah. If it's a small candle, it's symbolic, but you can, and if you have a different Hanukkah with oil, you don't need to replace the oil every night. You don't need to change the oil. You can just add more oil. Okay. Let's start with let's light the Hanukkah. I'm going to light the rhino. Okay, let me put in a place that everybody can see. And another important thing. Okay, you are looking to me. Try to imagine that here it's the window. Okay, we are going to celebrate today the 5th night of Hanukkah. How I know that it's the 5th night? Because I have here, in fact, 6 candles, but remember that one of them, that one, it's the shamash. It's the candle that it's taking care for the others. I'm going to light that candles with the shamash. But which is the first light? Which is the first candle that I need to light? And how I add the candles? It's very simple to remember. Okay, if in this side, if I'm looking and here is the window, okay, the first night I put this candle, the second night I add to the left side. Okay, I always will start putting the candle in the right side and I'm going to add the candles to the left side. But the candle that represents the last night will be the first that I go into light. For example, tonight, this evening, after I say the blessing, this is the first candle, second, third, fourth, and fifth candle. And then when I finish, I put the shamash in the right place. When I light the shamash, I don't say any blessing. I go in to say the blessing after I light the shamash. First of all, I need to light the shamash, and then I go in to do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Tomorrow night will be the 7th night. I will add a candle here, and I will take the shamash, and I will come here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the 8th night and the last night, the 7th and the 8th nights, I will complete. And the last night, I will start here from the left to the right. Okay, I go in to light the rhino. Let me take this and let me put here. That will be safe. Can you see here? Yes. Okay. I will take the shamash and I will say first of all, as I said, I start with the shamash. Okay. When I have the shamash, I going to say 2 blessings. Baruch אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו להדליק נר של חנוכה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, שעשה ניסים לאבותינו בימים ההם בזמן הזה. There are the 2 blessings. Let me read in English. Let me translate this blessing. First blessing. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of all, who allow us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the Hanukkah lights. This is the first blessing. Second blessing. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of all, who performed wondrous deeds for our ancestors in days of old at this season. When I said these 2 blessings, I go in to start I'm going to start for the left side. And then when I finish, I need to say, הנרות הללו אנו מדליקים על הניסים ועל הנפלאות ועל התשועות ועל המלחמות שעשית לאבותינו ואימותינו בימים הזה, בזמן הזה. בכל 8 ימי חנוכה הנרות הללו קודש הם ואין לנו רשות להשתמש בהם אלא לראותם בלבד, כדי להודות ולהלל לשמך גדול על ניסיך ועל נפלאותיך ועל ישועתך. We kindle these lights because of the wondrous deliverance you performed for our ancestors. During these 8 days of Hanukkah, these lights are sacred. We are not to use them, but only to behold them, so that their glow may rouse us to give thanks for your wondrous acts and deliverance. And then, this is the ritual. This is what we need to do. When we finish, we can sing one of the typical songs that we used to sing during Hanukkah. For example, it's very simple. It's very common to sing Ma'otzur. Ma'otzur Yeshuati Lecha na'e leshabeach תיקום ותפילתי, ושם תודה נסבח, לעת תכין מטבח, מצלם נבח, אז אגמור ושיר מזמור, חנוכת המזבח, אז אגמור ושיר מזמור, חנוכת המזבח. When we sing about Ma'otzur, first of all, Ma'otzur, the melody, it's not the Jewish melody. This is the first thing that you need to know. It's a typical German melody that receive lyrics related to the holiday of Hanukkah. But if you find different lyrics, it's because the original song, it was a German song. And many of the Hanukkah traditions are coming from Germany. For example, let me first read the translation of Ma'otzur. Rock of ages, let our song praise your saving power. You, amidst the raging foes, were our sheltering tower. Furious they assailed us, but your arm availed us, and your word broke their sword when our own strength failed us. Children of the Maccabees, whether free or fettered, wake the echoes of the songs where you may be scattered. Yours the message cheering that the time is nearing, which will see all people free, tyrants disappearing. And other tradition that is coming from Germany, it's dreidel. Dreidel, it means spin, yes. And the dreidel, or sevibon, the way that we say in Hebrew, we have 4 faces, and in each face we have another letter. We have the Nun, we have Gimel, we have Hey, and we have Shin. I don't know if it's enough clear to see the letters. What it means, these four letters. Nes Gadol Ayasham, a big miracle happened there. The miracle, it's the Hanukkah miracle. And for the people who are in Israel, instead of the letter Shin, appears the letter Fei, that means Po. Po, it's here. A big miracle happened here because they are in the land of Israel. And this is let's see, a way to play, and it was very common to give to the kids Hanukkah geld. Also, it's in Yiddish geld, and it's also, is it, Susie, it's also a German geld?
Geld, yeah.
Yeah.
Es
Okay.
ist Deutsch.
Deutsch, sprechen Deutsch.
Yeah.
Geld, it's money, and it was really the tradition. It's to give some money to the kids. Nowadays we change the tradition. We still are giving money, but we are giving chocolate coins.
I give checks.
They are looking like gold coins, but in fact they are chocolate coins. And let me share you a big problems that we have, because okay, it's a tradition that was spread and everybody loved to give chocolate coins, but the problem is in what hemisphere are you celebrating Hanukkah? Because indeed this time, I remember in South America, a day like today with 100 degrees, it's it's difficult to give Hanukkah geld, the chocolate coin, because it's impossible to open. It's like a milkshake. It's not a coin, a chocolate coin. Here in our hemisphere, it's more appropriate to give some chocolate. But let me ask you, why do you think that this tradition started in Germany? To give, first of all, to play with the Sevibon. This is not coming from the land of Israel. Why we need a toy? Let's say in that way. Why we need a toy, and why we need to give to the kids some money? Any idea?
I think it was because reading the Torah was illegal. So the men would be inside studying and the children would be outside and playing dreidel, and they could warn the adults when the police were coming. If I remember correctly.
No, exactly. It's another reason. Yeah, I heard also Wendy this explanation. You are not wrong, but another reason.
Maybe the Rothschilds started it.
We have what we have in the other side in this season. We are Jews. We celebrate Hanukkah. What in the other side?
Christmas?
Christmas. Yes. And what happened in Christmas?
They give gifts.
Of course, everybody receive a gift. Everybody receive a present. How you can explain to a Jewish kid that he's not going to receive everybody receive a present, a gift? Why not me? Why not me? Okay. Hanukkah geld. They receive some money. Go and buy your own gift. Okay, it was a way just to create some balance between what we see in the society and what happened inside our homes. Okay, I mean, we are not talking about a lot of money. It's something symbolic, and sometimes you can give a gift. You don't need to give money, and you can see that the important thing is not the money, it's the symbology. This is the reason that we are giving chocolate coins. Okay, but to receive something. Okay, if the other receive, why not? Why not in a Jewish home to give some gift? Easy. It's not easy. Yes, yes. It's a strong culture. Everybody's going to shopping and to shop, and everybody's coming with a lot of bags, and we just looking through the window with the candles. We also want some presents. Okay, this is the symbology, but it's important to know, and it's important. It's a tradition. Perhaps in some places it's more easy to change present or to have a specific presents related to Hanukkah. Here it's very easy. Go to a big store, you can find a Hanukkah pajama, and you can find Hanukkah socks. Okay, many things that you can find. You can find in an American stores that you don't find in another place. If you enter in the Amazon page and you write, you will see you have millions of gifts that you can buy online. Okay, this is something that became very popular. In the second part of our meeting, I would like to share with you just two videos to remember the history, the tradition, and to study a little bit. We are going to listen, and we are going later on to change opinions about the different videos. Okay, let me share my screen. Oh, where is video? Let's start with the Hanukkah story. Wait a minute, that I need also to share the sound. If not, you are not going to listen. Okay, let's go.
Every winter, Jewish families gather to light a branched candelabra called a menorah. For 8 nights, they celebrate their families and celebrate their faith. The holiday is called Hanukkah, also known as the Festival of Lights. When we think of Hanukkah, we think of the menorah. Its 8 flames burn in testament to a glorious victory that took place over 2,000 years ago. Around 200 BC, the Jewish people in Jerusalem were living under Egyptian rule, though they remained largely free to work and worship in accordance with their customs. Then, in 175 BC, Antiochus IV Epiphanes ascended to the Syrian throne, invaded Egypt, and desecrated Jerusalem. In an attempt to assimilate the Judean people, Antiochus forced them to worship Greek gods and outlawed Judaism, banning all Jewish rituals upon threat of death. The ultimate insult came in 168 BC, when Antiochus seized the Jewish Holy Temple in Jerusalem and dedicated it to the worship of Greek god Zeus. For a Jewish high priest named Mattathias, it was time to take a stand. Together with his 5 sons, Mattathias sparked a revolt, pitting the desperate Jewish faithful against vastly superior Syrian armies. The battle raged for 3 years. Against improbable odds, the Jewish uprising, led by Mattathias' son, Judah Maccabee, emerged victorious. Judah Maccabee and his small army of soldiers recaptured Jerusalem in 165 BC and liberated the Holy Temple. According to the Talmud, the Jewish high priests eagerly prepared to light the ceremonial menorah, the eternal flame which would rededicate the desecrated temple to the glory of God. But they found that the Syrians had defiled all but a small flask of oil. It was enough to light the menorah, but for a single night. Hours turned to days, and miraculously, the menorah burned on until 8 nights had passed and more oil could be produced. It was time for Hanukkah, Hebrew for dedication. Against all odds, the menorah had not been extinguished, and so the flames of the branched menorah are a potent symbol of the Jews' indomitable faith. The menorah holds 9 candles, with the center candle used to light 1 candle on each of the 8 nights of Hanukkah. During Hanukkah, children play a game with a dreidel, a 4-sided spinning top with a Hebrew character on each of its faces. It is thought that the dreidel began during the reign of King Antiochus, when Jews secretly gathered to study the Torah. If soldiers arrived, the Jews could pretend to be gambling. Jewish adults also give small sums of money, or gelt, to children during the holiday. And though not traditionally a holiday for gifts, Hanukkah's proximity to Christmas on the calendar has made it customary to exchange gifts on one or all of the 8 nights. For Jews around the world, Hanukkah is a time to reflect on the strength and spiritual resolve of the Jewish people. It is a celebration of triumph over religious persecution and of a miracle that kept a menorah lit for 8 nights.
Okay, it was a really nice video, an introduction video. Harvey, welcome. And I don't agree that the dreidel it's coming from the ancient time. The dreidel it's coming it's a German tradition. It's coming from Germany, not from the ancient time. But of course that they have different ways to distract the enemy. One important thing that Maccabi, we know the name Yehuda Maccabi. Yehuda was the name. Maccabi was the nickname. Okay, it's very common. The people have nickname. It was his nickname. What does it mean, Maccabi? Maccabi it means hammer. Hammer, because he beat like a hammer. Okay, Yehuda Maccabi, this was his name, the way that they know, but because he beat like a hammer. Nowadays we have a very nice city, Maccabi Reut, in the way from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv, or from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. In the middle of the way, it's you have the modern city of Maccabi Reut, and you have also the city of Modi'in. Modi'in, it's a very nice city today. It's a secular city. You don't have big group of Orthodox, and young families are living. The city it's growing up. Now you have a train station there, and in I don't know, in 50 minutes you are in Jerusalem or in Tel Aviv or in the beach. Or it's very easy to arrive by train nowadays to Modi'in. And we have here a very nice story, because it's a story and we have our own heroes. The Maccabim are exactly the way to show how we can fight against enemies, and how we can rededicate our holy places. Other important thing that we need to remember, that these people were religious people. It's like today a group of rabbis started a revolution, okay, which is the armic knowledge that a group of rabbis can have. Okay, we need to think about them. They went to Jerusalem in a very simple way. They didn't have carrots on carrots. They didn't have army material, guns, this, that. They went with the God blessing, and this is the most important thing. And they became heroes. Let's see another nice video that show us a little bit about the region, because sometimes when we are talking about the empire, it's a little difficult to understand, and sometimes people can be a little confused because we listen in the video the Greeks, but we need to remember Hellenistic Greeks, the Syrian. Okay, it was like partners that the Greek Empire had in Middle East. This is the reason that we listen different names, but in fact it's one empire with many partners in the region. Let's see this second video. Just a minute. Okay, second video. Can you see the new video on the screen? Yes? Okay, let's go.
By the era of classical antiquity, the independent kingdoms of Israel and Judah were in terminal decline. As a result, the history of the Jewish people soon came to be defined by the carousel of foreign empires that took turns conquering and subsequently ruling the ancestral Hebrew homeland. First came the Assyrians, then the Babylonians, then the Persians.
Let me just show you where is Israel, okay? Here is the region of Israel. You can see here the peninsula of Sinai. You can see here the Nile River, okay? But this is the region. When you cross that border, okay, here start Africa, and here start Asia, and Israel is exactly in the middle of the way. You need to cross, we need to cross Israel to go from one continent to the other. Do you remember the different empires that conquist the land of Israel during the history? Do you remember names of empires? Now we are talking about here the Hellenistic Empire, the Greeks. Other empires?
How about Rome?
The Rome Empire, yes. When we are
The
talking,
Ottoman Empire,
which one,
that was
Wendy?
later. The Ottoman Empire, that was later.
Yes, the Ottoman. Others? An important information, okay, till Napoleon arrived to the region. Also Napoleon arrived to the region, and it was really a very important until today. Okay, it's very important. Remember when they closed here the Red Sea, we have many diplomatic problems. Okay, what was happening in this last war? The Houthis closed here the Red Sea, and it was really very, very difficult because you arrive through the Red Sea. You can arrive to all this region, and when you close a river, it's a big problem for the entire region. let's continue. But remember, yes, most of the empires came and they like to have the dominion of this region, and when they destroyed the Temple of Jerusalem, this was the reason that the Jews went to exile. And so when we are talking about Babylon exile, they came to this region, and they also spread in Africa, and later on they came to this side. Okay, this is Europe. Okay, this is Italy. This is Greece. All depend the enemy and the opportunity that the Jewish had to go from one place to the other.
Who ruled the Jews with a reasonably fair and light hand. Finally, in 332 BC, the Macedonian phalanxes of Alexander would steamroll the Achaemenid Empire out of existence, establishing Classical Greek as the dominant language and culture of the Near East. It is here that the Jewish people became subjects of the Greek world. When Alexander died, his massive Macedonian empire fractured into several monarchies, ruled by his closest comrades and later their descendants. These so-called Diadochi kingdoms were constantly at war with one another, and the region of Judea, being situated in the borderland between the Ptolemies of Egypt and Seleucids of Syria, became a battleground where the two Macedonian dynasties jockeyed for power and influence. Despite this, life remained fairly peaceful for the Hebrews. The Hellenistic kings generally used the same light touch the Persians had, interfering very little in the region's culture, religion, and internal politics. The Jewish people were ruled semi-autonomously by a high priest of the Judaic faith, who handled matters both religious and secular from the Great Temple of Jerusalem. In 198 BC, Antiochus III had finally expelled the Ptolemies out of Judea, putting the region firmly under the suzerainty of the Seleucid Empire. He lowered taxes and affirmed the Jewish people's freedom to live by their own faith and laws, and for now, Judea was content. Throughout world history, we often see subject peoples of a multi-ethnic empire willingly adopt the language and customs of said empire's rulers in an attempt to improve social mobility, so many Jewish peoples began to practice the Greek culture of their suzerains. This phenomenon, known as Hellenization, was perpetuated mainly by the upper strata of Jewish society, namely the wealthy priests, merchants, and aristocrats in urban Jerusalem.
With Google Play Games, you can play unlocked.
Okay, sorry for
Unlock
this.
bigger screens.
The Hellenization process was expedited in 175 BC, when the culturally traditionalist high priest, Ananias III, was deposed by his Philhellene brother Joshua, better known by his Greek name Jason. Jason would go on to wield his power as high priest to begin transforming Jerusalem into a classically Greek city by building a gymnasium and an ephebeium, essentially community centers for Greek education and learning. He also sent Jewish athletes to compete in a mimicry of the Olympic Games hosted by the king in Tyre. There he offered a sacrificial tribute to the Greek demigod Hercules, to whom the games were dedicated.
One important information that we shared when we studied Passover. Remember that the origin of the Passover Seder, of the dinner of Passover, it's not a Jewish origin. It's exactly a Greek origin. Okay, it's a dinner with different places, different plates. And this came from the influence of the Greek Empire. But we changed the sense, and we organized a dinner to remember the Exodus. But the way to organize the dinner with different plates, an entry, and a main course, and a dessert. It was something that was very common in the Greek culture. And now we can see that the empire was there.
Perhaps his most radical policy was to allow non-Jews in Jerusalem to set idols of their gods within the holy temple itself. The fact that the high priest was openly tolerating and even promoting the polytheistic gods was deeply disturbing to many Jews who clung to their monotheist faith. This sentiment was especially strong in the poorer, rural communities of Judea, who had clung far closer to Orthodox Judaism. A strained situation was made worse in 175 BC, when one Antiochus IV Epiphanes became the Seleucid Basileus. Various ancient accounts describe him as a proto-Nero or Commodus, that is to say, erratic. His sobriquet, Epiphanes, meant manifested from God, but among his people he was secretly known by a variation of the title, Epimanes, which meant madman. It was him who in the first year of his rule supported Jason's coup against Annius III, hoping a pro-Greek high priest would help Hellenize the Jews. However, only 3 years later, Antiochus decided that Jason wasn't Hellenizing Judea fast enough, so helped replace him with an even more pro-Hellenic priest, Menelaus. With that matter settled, Antiochus then marched with his armies into Egypt, aiming to double the size of his empire by seizing the Ptolemaic heartland. While the king was preoccupied, Jason seized his opportunity and returned to Jerusalem, initiating a counter-coup and expelling the deeply unpopular Menelaus. However, Antiochus's campaign was cut short when the Roman Republic intervened on behalf of the Ptolemies. Unable to match the strength of the legion, the king was forced to retreat to Syria. Already utterly humiliated by Rome, Antiochus's mood turned wrathful when he found out that his subjects in Jerusalem had rebelled. He stormed Jerusalem with his army, slaying the supporters of Jason and reinstating his puppet Menelaus as high priest. He then left Apollonius in charge of subduing the city, who accomplished his job by dismantling the walls of Jerusalem and building a fort named Acra on the nearby hill of Ophel, so everyone could gaze upwards and see the symbol of King Antiochus's power. Rather than leaving good enough alone, Antiochus began to actively exterminate Judaism, forbidding the people of Judea from observing the Sabbath, circumcising their sons, or performing other rituals. He had the Holy Temple in Jerusalem converted into a temple of Zeus, within which he personally spilled the blood of a pig, a deeply sacrilegious ritual to the Judaic faith. The king declared that the Jewish people should begin worshipping the Greek gods. Hellenized Jews accepted these changes, but many others did not, resolving instead to fight. It is here that the Maccabees enter our story. Our story now shifts to the small Judean town of Modin, where a local priest, Mattathias, and his 5 sons lived. They belonged to the relatively minor Hasmonean family and were deeply Orthodox Jews who had remained true to every tenet of their religion, even as their countrymen became increasingly assimilated into Greek culture. Sometime in 167 BC, a Seleucid official arrived in Modin and compelled the townsfolk to offer a sacrifice to the Greek gods. Mattathias refused to make this offering, and another one of the townsfolk, a Hellenized Jew, stepped forth to do so in his place. Flying into a rage, Mattathias drew his knife and murdered his countrymen before he could perform the ritual. The priest then cut down the Seleucid official as well, and destroyed the pagan altar for good measure. Knowing they would be branded outlaws, Mattathias and his 5 sons fled into the nearby hills, followed by many like-minded Orthodox Jews known as the Hasidim. From there, the fight had begun. While Mattathias died sometime in 166 BC from causes unknown, he would be succeeded by his 3rd son, Judah, a dynamic young commander who through a mixture of ferocity, ruthlessness and bravery would come to be known as Maccabeus, a word deriving from the Aramaic Makkaba, the hammer. At the early stages, the rebellion was not a struggle between Jews and Greeks, but a civil conflict between pro- and anti-Hellenic Jews. The Maccabees began their movement with a terror campaign, launching lightning raids upon predominantly Jewish towns. They killed many of their own countrymen who they considered too Greek, burning down their homes and destroying the pagan altars where they worshipped. Most notably, they rounded up the sons of Hellenized Jews and had them forcefully circumcised. The message was simple: Greek culture was to be purged from Judea. Before long, the Maccabees had earned the attention of the military governor Apollonius, who resolved to crush the rebels before they could sow any more chaos.
David, the movie.
In 167 BC, after gathering a local army of around 2,000 men in Samaria, Apollonius marched south to the Gophna Hills, where it was said that the elusive Judah was hiding out. Here, the Maccabees proved they were capable of more than just murdering civilians and burning altars. Knowing they were outnumbered and out-equipped, Judah deliberately lured the enemy army deep into his native territory, where the hilly terrain made it impossible for the Seleucids to form up into their Macedonian phalanx. With only 600 men, the Maccabees surrounded and ambushed the Seleucid forces just outside the town of Wadi Haramir, routing them off the field. Apollonius was killed in the fighting, and Judah claimed the fallen commander's sword, wielding it as a symbol that his rebellion had been blessed by God. The Maccabees followed up their victory with another in 166 BC, ambushing an army of 4,000 Seleucids led by Seron at the Beth Horon mountain pass. These two victories would set the theme for much of the revolt, in which smaller, poorly armed contingents of Maccabean warriors would utilize terrain-based guerrilla warfare to consistently outwit the well-armed Seleucid armies that outnumbered them greatly. Later that year, Antiochus IV was forced to take the bulk of his armies eastwards to deal with a Parthian invasion, putting the local governor of Syria, Lysias, in charge of quashing the growing Jewish revolt with limited resources. Despite this, Lysias managed to field a significantly large army of some 10,000 professional Macedonian-trained soldiers. He put two experienced commanders, Gorgias and Nicator, in charge of this force and sent it into Judea. The Hellenes set up an entrenched camp at the town of Emmaus, while Maccabeus responded by leading around 3,000 Jewish warriors to the adjacent town of Mizpah, where they fasted and prayed to God to deliver them victory in the battle to come. In the days that followed, some of the local anti-Maccabean Jews informed the Seleucid commanders where Judah had set up his base. Seizing the opportunity to catch his enemy flat-footed, Gorgias rallied some 5,000 infantry and 1,000 cavalry and marched for Mizpah. However, his heavily armoured Argyraspides were slow and cumbersome, and their presence was soon picked up on by Maccabean scouts. Rather than face Gorgias's force head-on, Judah decided rather ingeniously to abandon his camp, taking advantage of his army's speed and maneuverability to skirt around the expeditionary force and strike instead at their now more sparsely populated camp at Emmaus. Taken completely by surprise, the reserve forces in Emmaus were either slaughtered or routed, and their supplies looted or burned. After failing to find any rebels in Mizpah or the surrounding hinterlands, Gorgias returned to his camp, only to find it aflame. Seeing this, the morale of his army was crushed and they fled for the coast. Reeling from yet another decisive defeat, the high priest Menelaus in Jerusalem, with the support of Lysias, attempted to bring Judah and his cohort to the bargaining table, offering to repeal some of the more egregious anti-Judaism laws of Antiochus. However, these negotiations failed, for the Maccabees would accept nothing less than the total eradication of Hellenization in Judea. By 164 BC, Governor Lysias had taken it upon himself to assemble and lead an army of some 20,000 men in Antioch, leading them south through Idumea and the valleys east of Gaza to a town called Beth-Zur, where he encamped his army in the local fortified citadel, hoping to strike at the Maccabees' southern flank. By this point, Judah Maccabeus had some 10,000 men under his command, his numbers having swelled as the reputation of his victories grew. Nevertheless, he was still outnumbered and outgunned by Lysias' army, so he stuck to tried and true tested methods to best his foe. Historical sources are vague on how the Battle of Beth-Zur played out, but it seems evident that the Maccabees spent the next few months harassing the Seleucids through hit-and-run tactics, striking at foraging parties, patrols, and any platoon of Syrian Greeks unfortunate enough to be caught outside the town citadel. This was never enough to earn a decisive victory, but it was enough to keep Lysias and his army consistently on the back foot. The status quo changed in late autumn, when in the Far East, the Seleucid Epiphanes contracted disease while campaigning against the Parthians and died. The monarch's death meant that his son, the 10-year-old Antiochus V, was now Basileus of the Seleucid Empire, and there would be no small amount of courtiers willing to influence the young boy for personal gain. Suddenly, Lysias' priorities had shifted, and he was compelled to return to Antioch to secure control of the infant king in order to keep his power and influence in the royal court, which meant that the campaign in Judea was over. Due to his persistence, cunning, and some plain old luck, Judah Maccabeus was victorious once more. With his victory at Beth-Zur, he was able to march his army more or less unopposed to Jerusalem, which, ironically, he was able to stride right into because the Seleucid governor Apollonius had destroyed its city walls a few years earlier. Following this, the Hellenized and other Seleucid loyalists retreated to Acre. Now firmly in control of the holy city, the Hammer of Judea entered the temple, destroying the altar to Zeus and the idols that had been erected during the reigns of Jason and Menelaus. His youngest brother, Jonathan Apphus, was installed as the new high priest of Judea. Among the sacred objects to be restored was the menorah, a golden candelabrum whose 7 branches represented knowledge and creation. It was supposed to be kept burning every night, but its light had been extinguished during the persecutions. However, the temple had been so thoroughly pillaged that there was only enough oil to keep the candles of the menorah burning for one night. Despite this, once lit, the candles burned bright and true for 8 full days. This supposed miracle of God is the cornerstone of Hanukkah, and to this day, when Jewish communities around the world light 8 candles on their menorahs, they commemorate each day the light burned for Judah Maccabeus and his freedom fighters. Jerusalem may have been taken, but the war was far from over. Seeking to keep his momentum, Judea besieged Acre in early 162 BC. He expected that Lysias, still locking horns with his political rivals in Antioch, would not bother sending a force to relieve the siege. He was wrong, and in a surprise to everyone, Lysias left Antioch with an army of some 50,000 infantry, 500 cavalry, and at least 30 war elephants. Maccabeus had a respectable 20,000 warriors loyal to him, so upon hearing this news, he broke the siege of Acre and marched southwards, meeting his foe on the hills outside of the town of Beth Zachariah. Confident in his numbers, and expecting the Greeks to be wizened to his guerrilla warfare tactics by now, Judah opted to, for once, match the Seleucid army in a pitched battle. This was a dire mistake. The Jewish warriors were no match for the Macedonian phalanx in the open field, and on top of that, the war elephants were striking deep fear into the heart of Judah's troops. In an attempt to inspire bravery in his men, the younger brother of Judah, Elizur-Haran, charged right into the Seleucid front lines, diving under the lumbering legs of an approaching elephant and stabbing into its soft underbelly. The beast was slain, but its corpse fell onto Eleazar, crushing the Hasmonean warrior in one of history's more spectacular deaths. Despite this brave sacrifice, the Maccabean forces were still routed and driven off the field. Lysias was not able to savour this victory for long, for in the following year, the hammer struck back, winning a minor victory over a Seleucid army at Edessa. This was not a crushing blow to the Seleucids, but once more Lysias had to return to Antioch to deal with his rivals. He was forced to compromise with the Maccabees, repealing much of Antiochus IV's religious laws to placate his foe, before retreating out of Judea. Taking advantage of this reprieve, Judah sent envoys to Rome. As they had a vested interest in keeping their Seleucid rivals weak, the Romans signed a treaty of mutual defense with the Maccabees in 161 BC, which legitimized Judah Maccabeus as a legitimate ruler of an independent Jewish state. Meanwhile, over in Antioch, the situation was growing volatile. King Demetrius I Soter rose to power following a political coup that saw the murder of boy King Antiochus V and his chief supporter Lysias. King Demetrius turned out to be more aggressive than his predecessors, and ignoring the Roman-Judean treaty, he dispatched one of his top generals, Bacchides, at the head of 22,000 men to retake Judea. Bacchides managed to march right up to the gates of Jerusalem unopposed, catching Judah Maccabeus completely by surprise. He had only 3,000 men with him, and to make matters worse, most of them fled the city upon seeing how direly outnumbered they were. Left with only 1,000 or so men, the Hammer of Israel opted to go out in a blaze of glory, charging out into the field outnumbered 20 to 1. Despite a valiant attempt, Judah and his men were overwhelmed and cut down to a man. Judah's brothers Simeon and Jonathan continued to fight on, eventually defeating Bacchides and retaking Jerusalem in the years that followed.
I need you to trust me one last time.
It's about to come to a head.
How do you know?
The brothers and their successors would continue to fight against the Seleucids for 2 more decades, before the declining Hellenistic Empire became mired in its own internal corruption and civil wars. In 141 BC, Judea came fully under the control of the Hasmonean dynasty, and the descendants of Judah Maccabeus and his brothers would rule it as a fully independent kingdom for a time. It is worth noting that even after this successful bid for independence, elements of the Hellenistic language and culture remained visible in Jewish society for centuries, especially after they were expelled from their homeland by the Romans after the Great Jewish Rebellion and forced to integrate as a diaspora community across a notoriously Greek-loving Roman Empire. The Maccabean revolt has a somewhat mixed legacy. Were Judah and his followers brave freedom fighters, risking everything to preserve their culture and faith against an oppressive imperial regime? Or were they religious zealots whose desire to force a rigidly theocratic society upon all Jewish peoples taints what could have been a noble legacy? Whatever the case, their impact on world history cannot be denied, as each year millions of people light the 8 candles that cut through the winter dark, and the story of the Hammer of Judea is echoed once more. Once again, thanks to Supremacy 1940.
Okay, this is the history. I'm thinking that it's a very important history. We need to remember that this independent period went till the year 70 for the Common Era, when the Temple of Jerusalem was destroyed by the Roman Empire. We can think and we can have many conclusions about this issue. First, from that time till today, we continue to fight for our rights in the land of Israel. Yes, we saw this in the 2023, also in the modern independent state of Israel. We continue to fight for our freedom in the land of Israel. Also, we can see that the Jewish population was divided. Sometimes who came and was on power, there are some people who support, who was in the power, and they agree and they like to be friends, good friends. And there are people who are completely oppose to the enemy. Not everybody look at the enemy. Some of them, so okay, if I'm friend from my enemy, perhaps I will have a better life under their rules. And we can see also the division and the problems between the empires. Okay, one general was disagree with the other. It was not enough. One gave religion freedom, the other not. The period was really very different, and we can see this in every place. One day I will explain you the history of the Jewish community in Brazil, and you will see that during the Deutsch colonialist time, Jewish in Brazil have the religious freedom, and under the Portuguese empire, they didn't have any religion freedom. And the same happened in every period of the history. The enemy is coming. Sometimes he was worried. Perhaps some of these generals were worried more about the economy, and they need the routes to go from one place and the other. They don't take care about religion. But others said, okay, we are going also to be involved not just with the economy, let's be involved with the religion. And they send army from here, from there. We know that the history, it was not very friendly with the people in Israel, also in the land of Israel. But we know that this is the promised land. Okay, we don't have another land. It's a unique Jewish state in the world, and it is there. It's in the Middle East. We can be spread in many other countries, but we have just one Jewish state, that it's the state of Israel. We don't have anymore the Temple of Jerusalem. We have the Western Wall, but it's the place that we remember our history. We remember our heroes. We remember our Maccabim. We have the modern cities. We remember their stories. And you can go to Akko, to Accra, and you can go to many places, and you can find some constructions from the time of the Hellenistic Empire and from the Roman Empire. They are huge cities when you can see the archaeology, and this is something that we have many elements in the land of Israel when we are studying archaeology to remember these stories. What's your opinion about the Maccabi? Did you know about these problems between the empires and the power and the priests? Did you know a little bit about the Maccabi story or not? Yes, no?
No,
A little.
Yes, I knew a lot of this already.
yeah, but there's a lot I didn't know.
Okay.
And the videos were really, really informative. I really enjoyed those videos, Rabbi.
What we can learn from this story for our days?
Stop fighting.
Stop fighting.
Fighting.
It's a wish, of course.
Yeah.
We can see nowadays also the Israeli society, it's divided. Okay. This continue in our days. Also, in other countries, we can see the people who support one side and who support the other side. but we have something in common. Okay, we have one God, and we believe in this God, and we continue to keep our tradition. And it's important to tell this story to the new generations. When a kid is playing with a dreidel, we are teaching about this story. We need to know this story. It's mandatory for us, people of Israel. Uh, this is the funny side of the story. It's so beautiful. We are coming at home and we light a candle and we put the Hanukkah, and you have many different styles of Hanukkah. This is the nice side of the story, but the story was really very tragic and very hard. And we are talking about religion freedom. Okay, it's something very important. And when you have enemies, the goal of the enemies can be the assimilation. Let's do that. These people will be similar to us, and let's change their spirituality and traditions and days of commemoration. But we are here, and we know that when arrive Kislev, the 25th of Kislev, we are ready to celebrate Hanukkah and to light our Hanukkah. This is the way that we celebrate, but the celebration, it's more than to eat a sufgania, to eat a donut. Yes, there are a lot of things that we need to remember, and we need to remember the Maccabim. Okay, they fight, they became our heroes, and this is the way that we continue.
Of course, they're fighting. We need to stop fighting. They need to stop fighting us. They need to let us keep retaining our heritage and our place in the world. And that's what I meant, of course.
Yes, we need to have the right to be recognized with our own tradition, in the same way that we recognize the right of existence for other people. I don't like to convince anyone just to be Jew, or to say that Judaism is the best religion, or everybody must follow Judaism. No, you have the right, but give us the right to believe in one God, and to worship in our synagogues, and to gather in our holy places, to continue to celebrate our tradition. And we are a people with good memory. All our celebrations start with history. We are celebration an historical fact. Under each celebration, we have an historical fact. We need also always to divide. We celebrate tradition. We are doing that. This is the practice, but always, yes, it's very nice to sit down around the table during Passover, during Pesach. But what we are celebrating in Pesach, we are remember a story that we were slaves in the land of Egypt. Okay, always we have an historical side, and it's very nice during Purim to wear a costume. But what are we celebrating? We are remember a story, a tragic story that happened with Queen Esther. Okay, that our people, yes, had the risk to disappear. Every celebration have an historical side, and it's our obligation to remember when we are sitting, and when we are open a Megillah or the Torah, and we are reading about, and when we are studying, we have a goal not to repeat the same. Or be careful, you have enemies around you, or perhaps inside your own people. Be careful. We don't have the right to repeat the history. Okay? My friends, tomorrow evening we are going to celebrate Shabbat, and here it's another important point. When we have Shabbat and Hanukkah together, because we have two holidays, we have Shabbat and we have Hanukkah. And remember that the law, the Shabbat law, it's not to have a new fire after you light the Shabbat candles. Then tomorrow, the order is we need to light the Hanukkah, and when we finish to light the Hanukkah, we can light the Shabbat candles. We can't do in the opposite way. It's wrong if we light the Shabbat candles and then we are coming and we light the Hanukkah. Okay, remember, when we have a Hanukkah, first is the Hanukkah, second Shabbat lights. When Shabbat ends, when we arrive to the end of Shabbat, Saturday evening, we need to do first the Abdallah, and then we need to light the Hanukkah. Okay? First, we need to conclude Shabbat, and then we continue with the holiday celebration. Friday night, it's opposite. First, the Hanukkah, second, the Shabbat lights. Abdallah, the special candle of the Abdallah, the separation between Shabbat, but we have another blessing. Instead to say Amabdil ben Kodesh lechol, who separate, who distinguish between the holiday of Shabbat and the week, we say who distinguish between holiday and holiday. Okay, because Shabbat is a holiday, but we continue to celebrate Hanukkah. Any question, any commentary?
Thank you, Rabbi. I didn't know the story, the whole story. Very interesting.
Thank
My
you, Rabbi.
pleasure.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Tomorrow, 5:30, pizza. Latkes, of course. 6:30, we are going to light the Hanukkah. Bring your own Hanukkah. This is our invitation, okay? But you come with your Hanukkah and come with 7 candles, okay? We are going to celebrate the 6th night plus the Shamash. We will need 7 candles in our Hanukkah. And to conclude, let me wish Chag Sameach, okay? And let's conclude with this, okay? With the dreidel, the Hanukkah, and our wish for better times with light. Okay, light, spread the light of peace, the light of hope, the light of friendship, the light to build a better world. Thank you very much. Chag Sameach. Have a good